Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for joining us here once again on Instagram for another Wine Wednesday. Hey, I'm Christian Laroche, sales manager for Waldorf Wine Group here in British Columbia. Wine Wednesday, as the name implies, we do this every Wednesday, and we've been doing this since May of 2020. We pivoted online, bringing you content of all things from the Waldorf Wine Group portfolio. And for those of you not familiar with us, Waldorf Wine Group, we're a small family-owned wine importing company, importing European wines into British Columbia and Alberta since 1993. We were founded by Andy Waldorf, still firmly at the helm. And we bring in a really eclectic portfolio, great value wines at every price point, everything from co-op cellars to small family estates, class growth Bordeaux, chateaus, small Burgundy domains, small high quality German producers, Brunello de Montalcino, ultra traditional Rioja, and a bit of everything in between. We feature wines that we currently bring into market. Sometimes we'll look at some samples of wines that we're thinking of bringing into the market. We'll talk about any promos we might be doing, any events we might be hosting, or anything going on basically under the Waldorf Wine Group umbrella. So, hey, if you haven't done so already, please, I do invite you to follow us here on Instagram. We're at about 565 followers and growing. Thank you very much. It's a great way to keep your ear to the ground and find out what's new and wonderful. Hey, we're trying a wine that we've had in the market now for a little while. We're on to the newer vintage. And this is one of our, what I call one of our core wines, one of our bread and butter offerings, so to speak. It's something that's not available at BC liquor stores. It's only available as a restricted speculative product in private wine shops and better restaurants here in British Columbia. Very user-friendly, something that we used to see a lot more of, and we're starting to see a little bit more of it again, but something that I think really kind of what's old is new again, so to speak. And it's wine that's near and dear to my heart. I cut my teeth many moons ago working in a wine bar back in Ottawa, and we had quite a few wines just like this available at the time. And so it takes me back kind of to my wine roots a little bit. So let's flip the camera around. This is one of the mainstays in our portfolio. It's a Bordeaux wine, and we import a lot of Bordeaux wine. We've been specializing in that. We're lucky enough that we deal with one of the absolute best sources of Bordeaux available. Bordeaux is funny because we as agents can't basically walk up to a chateau, ring the doorbell and say, hey, we want to import your wine. You need an intermediary. That's the way business is done in Bordeaux. You need a representative to basically work on your behalf and foster that relationship or already have that relationship in place. And we're fortunate enough, there's probably about 400 different négociants in Bordeaux, and we're with one of the absolute creme de la creme, suppliers, fabulous source of wines, great provenance, and we're very, very lucky. So let's flip the camera around. Enough talk. Let's show you what we're going to be trying. This is, it's a Chateau Landereau, Bordeaux Superieur. We'll get into that a little bit later. Grand Vin de Bordeaux. This is 2020. It's a wine that we've been bringing into the market now for a number of years. Now, we just flipped the vintage. We started with the 2019 vintage, and we've just transitioned into the 2020 fabulous vintage in Bordeaux. Part of those three warm vintages in a row, 2018, 2019, 2020, I really like the wines from 2020. I think it got kind of the best of everything, especially in this particular area of Bordeaux. We're going to get into this a wee bit later, talking about it. This is a Bordeaux Superieur, and we'll get into that a wee bit later on. This is the sort of wine that we brought in. This is what we like to call a bistro wine, or a bistro Bordeaux. It's the sort of wine that you can drink midweek. You don't need a special occasion or anything like that to enjoy it. But we used to see, as I say, a lot more of these in the market. Now, the one thing that I wanted to make mention of it as well, too, interestingly enough, is I'm just going to pull a bottle into shot. But if you notice, this wine, it's a half bottle. Yeah, 375 ml. It's something that, as mentioned, we used to see a little bit more of in the market, but what ended up happening was we started seeing more and more places using inert gas, argon gas, coravins and the like. And people were running with that for a while. What they would do is they would, stick a needle through the cork and extract an amount of wine from the bottle and replace it with a neutral gas, and you'd have a wine preservation system. And the thinking was, you could go through this bottle, for weeks or months, and the wine would still be good. I think the jury might be a wee bit out on that. I know there's been quite a bit of talk rather about wine preservation systems, and actually, with the neutral gas, it can't. Some people have found that it can impart a little bit of a spritz to the wine, or maybe a little bit of a different effect on the flavor. There's certain professional wine reviewers, for example. I look at Neil Martin from Venice, who used to be with Robert Parker's Wine Advocate before, and he will not rate wines that have come from Coravin samples. So I find that very, very interesting. So I don't know whether the pendulum maybe swings away from that again too, as more people decide for themselves that may not be the best format for their palate. But regardless, I think these half bottles are very, very user friendly. What I do with these too as well. Now here's a pro tip. If you buy a half bottle of wine, what I tend to do is once I'm finished with it, I'll wash out the bottle and keep it. So if I have a half empty full bottle, rather than trying to pump remove the oxygen from the bottle with the seal, or pump neutral gas into it, I'll just pour the half empty full bottle into an empty half bottle and seal it that way. It's cheaper, and I think it's a much easier solution. Now, it won't last you weeks or months, but it'll certainly keep the wine in the short term from oxidizing or going off, for that matter. What we're trying today is Chateau Landereau, Bordeaux Superieur. This is a small property in what's known as the Entre-deux-Mers region of Bordeaux. It's the largest regional appellation in Bordeaux at about 3,000 hectares, but really about half of that, and we'll pull this up on the Google Earth map. Actually, you know what? This might be a good time to pull it up on the Google Earth map. Why don't we do that? Let's get the bottle out of shot. Bordeaux. We are in southwest France. This is the Gironde River, north of the town of Bordeaux. The town of Bordeaux here, this flows out to the ocean into the Bay of Biscay, and it's split into two different tributaries. On the north part here, this is the Dordogne River, which flows up closer to Saint-Emilion and Pomerol and Libourne. This is what's known as the right bank. And through this area here, the soils are predominantly clay, and the grape is mostly Merlot with a bit of Cabernet Franc and some of the other grapes, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, Malbec, what have you. Down here to the south, this is the Garonne River, and it flows past the city of Bordeaux, down past Pézac-Léognan, down past Sauternes, and basically the area in between these two rivers here, Entre deux Mers. Let's pull it up here. I've got a map from Bordeaux. Here we go. This gives you, so it's this whole region in here, in between the two rivers. This is the Entre deux Mers region. As I mentioned, it's about 3,000 hectares. There's about 280 different growers or chateaus in here. But about half the land in here, about 1,500 hectares, is actually forest. So really, we're only talking about 1,500 hectares under vine, under production right now. I'm going to pull up the Google Earth map once more. So we're just a little bit southeast of the city of Bordeaux, just north of Craon. We're up here around Sadirac. And this is owned by the Belay family, who've owned it since the late 50s. It's fourth generation ownership. Bruno Belay came on stream about 1988. And they're farming here around 100 hectares, 80 of which are under vine, 20 of which are devoted to biodiversity. The whole property here, Chateau Landereau, is it's certified high. Whoops, getting some notifications here on the computer. It's certified high value environmental certified, and it's also bee friendly certified. So, pardon me, of those 100 hectares, 20 hectares are dedicated to biodiversity. So you're getting cover crop and flowers for pollinators. I'm just going to also pull up, I've got some shots here. That's a better shot of the estate. Again, this is mostly clay soils with gravelly ridges. And here's a shot of Bruno Belay himself working in the vineyards. This wine is 70% Merlot, 15% Cabernet Franc, and 15% Cabernet Sauvignon. Here's another shot at dusk of the property. And I'm also going to pull up, just a quick sec here, I've got a little video, but it's all en français. So I'm going to play this for you, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what the property looks like. And this only runs for about a minute and a half. So I'll just try to hold this steady if I may. But it gives you an idea of the property. It's a beautiful property. The rolling hills, not very high elevation. We rarely get above 100, 125 meters above sea level. The vines here on average are about 30 years old. It's all hand harvested with pneumatic pressing. Completely destemmed, as I mentioned, 70% Merlot, 15% Cabernet Franc, 15% Cabernet Sauvignon. And the wine is entirely aged in oak vat and barrels for about 15 months. It's mostly older oak, so you're not getting a lot of wood tannin. Average yields are about 40 hectoliters per hectare. And as mentioned, 2020 was a storming good vintage, a warm vintage, but not as many heat spikes as, say, 2018. Got new vat room not too long ago, all stainless steel, temperature controlled, of course. Yeah, and that basically is about it. I will back it out and get our bottle back into shot. So as mentioned, we were talking about this. This is a Bordeaux Superieur. What that basically means is within the region of Entre deux Mers, probably better known for white wine. Basically, the white wines of the region have to be labeled as Entre deux Mers. The red wines have to be labeled as either Bordeaux or Bordeaux Superieur. Bordeaux Superieur basically means it has to have half a degree higher natural alcohol than, as opposed to a Bordeaux, just a generic Bordeaux. There has to be higher density planting within the vineyards, lower yields as well, slightly longer aging, The other thing is, all the other wines produced beyond white wines labeled as Entre deux Mers will either be Bordeaux or Bordeaux Superieur, but they also produce, rosé wine on the property. There is also some of the, sweet wines of the region, are also produced sort of to the south, just across the river from Sauternes and Barzac. But we have Cadillac and Lupiac and Saint Croix du Mont. Also, they tend to make what's known as Bordeaux Clairette, and Chateau Landereau actually produces one. I'd be curious to bring some of that in. I think that would be a very cool wine. It's an old school style of wine, which basically is, you can think of it either as a pale red wine or a slightly darker rosé wine, but very cool as well that they offer that. As mentioned, the property is all high value environmental certified and also bee friendly certified as well. We brought this wine in not too long ago, and a lot of the wines that tend to come in to the market, especially in 750 ml bottles, the way the Bordeaux market works is they offer the wines of the vintage for sale basically in April after the harvest. So we're just coming up very soon. So very shortly, the 2024 vintage will be shown. So generally in April, all the trade and the media descend upon the region of Bordeaux, and all the chateaus present their wines that are still aging in barrel. It's the barrel sample tasting. It's called En Primeur. And Waldorf Wine Group, we go every year. We've been doing this for years and years and years. It's a way to assess the general quality of the vintage. And what happens is the chateaus release their wine shortly thereafter. So they're tasted by the media. Wine journalists rate the wines, and it helps to set the tone of the vintage, to set the tone of the market. And the wines put out their release prices. So what ends up happening is the wines are offered for sale, and it's the first allocation of the wine. So basically, people buy the wine while it's still aging in barrels. So the thinking is, you get a better deal, but you're paying your money up front. So the wineries get cash flow, you get a better deal, and then the wine is basically delivered 3 years later. So you're buying it on the faith of that tasting. And that's what happens here in British Columbia. Usually every mid-September, sometimes in October, the wines will be released. For example, last year in 2024, they had just released the 2021 vintage. And that's the way it works. So a lot of the times these young wines are coming onto market, and this is what I call the embryonic baby fat stage. So you get a lot of these young, very fruit-forward wines with young, raw tannins still that are coming out. So, the other thing is, it's all well and good to be able to buy those wines, but quite often you'll notice that a lot of restaurants will have these wines on their list. And a lot of these restaurants don't have either the cash flow or the resources, I should say, the financial resources to actually, cellar their wine and, allow it to develop, to integrate and get more layers of flavor and complexity. That's pretty expensive to be able to do. So what we end up seeing is a lot of these very young, undeveloped wines, on wine lists. Half bottles are interesting because they develop quicker in bottle than do their 750 milliliter counterparts. So these wines are user friendly as well because they give you sort of a quicker evolution so that you're able to enjoy the vintage and get a few more layers of complexity a little bit quicker into these wines. Now, that being said, people like us, Waldorf Wine Group, we are able to go back and get more mature vintages. However, that's where it becomes complicated. It becomes more expensive. And also you have to be very, very sure of your source. Getting back to it, that's why I said, we are very, very fortunate at Waldorf Wine Group that we deal with one of the absolute best négociants in Bordeaux that are able to guarantee the source of the wines. When you're getting into some of the higher end wines, we have to be very careful because there's been no shortage of counterfeiting going on, fake labels, what have you. Wine that has been bought off the gray market. Let's say a restaurant goes out of business and they sell their cellar. And you don't know how many times that wine has moved. How many times has it been through the Panama Canal in unrefrigerated shipping containers, what have you. And that's all important because, the ultimate is to be able to buy it directly from the chateau where it has been in storage undisturbed. That is the ultimate provenance. So we're always looking for wines like that. That's the way we don't buy off the gray market. We only buy directly from the chateau or from what our négociant has in their own warehouse. Sometimes, yes, you will pay a little bit more, but it's important, especially when it counts, when you're getting into some of these higher end classified growth chateaus. Pardon me, provenance is everything. But today we're not talking about classified growth. As mentioned, we are into our bistro wine. This is Chateau Landereau, Bordeaux Superieur. Basically, it's a red from the Entre-deux-Mers region. On the right bank of the river. Well, kind of smack dab in the middle between the two rivers, I should say. Clay soils, so it's kind of typical of what you'd find in Saint-Emilion, Pomerol, Franzac, and those regions, Côte de Bourg, Côte de Blay. More Merlot dominant, to be sure. So the wines tend to be a little bit more plummy than their Medoc or left bank Cabernet Sauvignon dominant wines off of the gravel soils. Anyway, you know what? I think this is a great time to maybe give the wine a try. I've had this wine open a wee bit. One thing I'd like to make mention of too is I was very pleased to see, and I did not know this, that Chateau Landereau is using, we've talked about this before, Diam corks, which is great. What these are conglomerate corks. These are technical conglomerate corks. And what happens is, back in the day when they were making corks, you'd get the cork oak in Portugal. You have to wait 11 years, 12 years so before the bark was thick enough. You'd strip the bark off. You'd be punching holes into the bark and taking these cork plugs out. And basically you'd be left with this, like a brick, with all these holes in it, but you still had all the surrounding cork material that wasn't being used. Well, what they've done now is, with the Diam corks now, they'll take the cork bark, and what they'll do is they'll grind it down to cork particles, but what they'll do is they'll clean it using supercritical carbon dioxide. And what that is, it's carbon dioxide in between a liquid and a gas state, and they'll bathe it, the particles in that, and cleanse it. And the nice thing about that is it can be used in numerous times, that same batch of supercritical carbon dioxide. If memory serves me, I believe actually that came about as part of the process for decaffeinating coffee way back in the day. I think that's where it came from. But needless to say, these corks are, once they're cleansed, the cork particles are reassembled using binding agents like beeswax and the like, and they're great because they really help to limit or lower the incidence of TCA and cork-tainted bottles. It's been really, really, really good for that. Getting back to it, let's give the wine a try. 2020, I see a few people joining us. We are in the Entre-deux-Mers region of Bordeaux. This is Chateau Landereau. This is a restricted speculative product in half bottles. Yeah, half bottles, 375 ml bottles. What a concept. Available here in British Columbia, only at private wine shops. In in Vancouver, Marquis is currently carrying this. So is Sutton Place Wine Merchant. A few others. I have to get my list. I'll post that up afterwards once I posted the video with the list of other places that are carrying it. But as mentioned, this is 70% Merlot, 15% Cabernet Franc, 15% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30-year-old vines, 15 months in a mixture of older French oak vats and barrels. Let's give the wine a try. Beautiful, deep shot ruby color. Still kind of purpley pink on the rim, as you'd expect. Good to see. My partner in Alberta, Graham Versailles, is saying this is going to be available in Alberta in the next couple of weeks. It's a great little wine. I got to tell you, for the money, it's a great weekly drinker. It's a drinker, not a thinker. There's nothing wrong with that. Very tasty juice that you don't have to think twice about opening up. It's the perfect, little lunchtime steak frit or something like that. Charcuterie, cheese. I'm French Canadian, so a little bit of tourtière, something like that would be great. Let's give it a swirl and a sniffy sniff. Ooh, you can tell there's some Merlot in it. This is a plummy animal, let me tell you. But I'm also picking up a bit of sort of that savory spice. I think that's the Cabernet Franc coming through, but I'm definitely picking up a hit of cedar for sure. I'm sure that's coming from the French oak. Let's give it a taste, see what we've got. Plush. Really fans out again in the mid palate. I'm surprised too. That's quite a young wine, but there's a lot going on there. Savory spice, a little bit of menthol for sure. Picking up definitely that cedary character again too, quite smoky as well too. Medium plus body. This is about 14% alcohol. I like that it's not high octane, like 15.5%. I find some of those warm vintages, like in Bordeaux in 2018, 19, and 20, a lot of the Merlot based wines can get quite high alcohol. But I like the effect the Cabernet Franc. It's definitely adds a little bit of a leanness and a savory spice and touch of a little bitterness. I'm just going to have one more sip if I may. Really nice replays on the finish. Supple. That's actually got some surprisingly muscular tannins. Fruit tannin, I would say, more so than wood tannin. Doesn't have so much astringency. But yeah, that's a great all-arounder. Again, I wouldn't throw the biggest, bloodiest steak necessarily at this, but this would be great with like lamb chops or just roast beef. Even a pasta, maybe with some black olives or something like that, and some capers. Viola Sabuco, check it out. This is Chateau Landereau from the Belay family in Sadirac in the Entre-deux-Mers region of Bordeaux. Currently available here. Fantastic value for what it is. If you're interested, DM me and I can hook you up with pricing and availability details. You can DM me here, or you can drop me an email at Christian@waldorfwine.com. And that's Christian, KHRISTIAN @waldorfwine.com. What else can I tell you? Hey, it's Wine Festival week here in Vancouver. So, wishing everybody well there. I hope things go smoothly. Lots of wines still in the pipeline. A lot of our Bordeaux wines have just arrived. We've got some older German wines. Our Schwab Kiebel wines from Erzig have just shown up, so those should be ready soon. Just got a little bit more Willi Schaefer, Gracker Dumprost, Spätlese AP number 10. Crazy good wine. That's available now too. We got a tiny bit of Lopez already. We're just about out of those wines. We get our once a year allocation. So if you're interested in those, let me know. We'll try to get you some. There's not a lot to be had, but blink and you'll miss it. What else? Just got our reload. New vintage of Saumur Les Pouches dry single vineyard. Classic Loire Valley dry Chenin Blanc. That is such a great wine. We've been carrying that for years now. Just got in like another 165 cases of that, so that's good to go. What else? We had a wee bit of a hiccup with our Solifred wine that we featured. We had to get some case codes redone on them because they were a little bit blurry, but that wine is fully available for ordering once again. Anyway, not sure what we're going to dig out of the tickle trunk for next week. Who knows? We got some of the new Lopez de Heredia wines. Maybe we'll do a look at one of those and see what's going on with the new vintages there. Anyway, I'm Christian with Waldorf Wine Group. So glad you could join us here. If you haven't done so already, I do invite you to join us here on Instagram. It'd be great to have you join us. Anyway, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.